Single dad saw everyone ignore the female cop's deaf daughter. What he did next shocked everyone. The room was full of soft music, white tablecloths, and polite smiles, but in one quiet corner a little girl stood invisible, her small hands folded, her eyes searching faces that never met hers. She was the deaf daughter of a female police officer, dressed neatly beside her mother, and while adults laughed and talked around them, no one noticed how the child watched the world pass by in silence. That was the moment a single father, already carrying his own quiet grief, felt something twist deep in his chest, and what he did next would ripple through the room and change far more than one evening. Before the story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small moments to change lives, please take a second to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel Grandma Dearie. Your support keeps stories like this alive. The single dad had not planned to be at this event for long. He was there out of duty, not celebration, a man who had learned to stand alone after life took a turn he never expected. Years earlier, he had lost his partner, and since then every room felt louder and lonelier at the same time. He had learned to read people quickly, to notice who was hurting beneath polite smiles, because pain had trained his eyes. As he moved through the crowd, exchanging nods and forced pleasantries, his attention kept drifting back to the little girl and her mother. The mother stood tall in her uniform, posture strong, shoulders squared like someone used to command and danger, but her eyes softened every time they fell on her daughter. It was the look of someone who could face the world, but feared it might not be gentle with the one she loved most. The child, however, was different. She was not restless or misbehaving. She was quiet in a way that came from habit, not choice. Adults leaned toward her mother, praised her service, thanked her for her work, then turned away, their conversations flowing right past the child as if she were part of the furniture. Some noticed the small hearing device behind her ear and quickly looked away, unsure, uncomfortable, afraid of saying the wrong thing. The girl watched hands move, lips form words she could not hear, laughter rise and fall without sound. Each time someone passed without acknowledging her, her shoulders seemed to sink just a little more. The single dad saw all of it. He saw how the girl's fingers twitched, how she mimicked gestures she didn't fully understand, how she studied expressions instead of words. He remembered his own child, how after loss there had been moments of isolation so sharp they felt physical. He knew that silence could be louder than noise. And in that instant, he made a choice that surprised even himself. He didn't rush in or make a scene. He slowed down. He knelt, bringing himself to the child's level, careful not to invade her space. He remembered something he had once learned out of curiosity, back when his life had room for hobbies and small kindnesses. His hands lifted, and slowly, deliberately, he began to sign. The movements were not perfect, but they were sincere. His face softened, his eyes kind, his gestures clear. The girl froze at first, disbelief flickering across her face. Then her eyes widened. She straightened, her hands rising to meet his, responding in sign with a shy confidence that bloomed like a flower in sunlight. Around them, conversations faltered. People noticed the change before they understood it. A grown man in the middle of a formal event, kneeling on the floor, hands moving gracefully, smiling with a warmth that felt rare. The girl's mother turned, confusion giving way to shock, then something dangerously close to tears. She had spent years fighting for respect, for inclusion, for her daughter's dignity, and here was a stranger offering it without being asked. The single dad didn't perform. He didn't look around to see who was watching. He stayed focused on the child, asking about her favorite colors, her drawings, the small joys that make a child feel seen. The girl laughed silently, her eyes sparkling, her hands moving faster now, confidence growing with every exchange. For the first time that evening, she was not the quiet child on the sidelines. She was the center of a moment that mattered. Others began to gather, drawn by curiosity, then by something deeper. Some recognized the gestures and tried to follow. Others simply watched, moved by the simplicity of what they were seeing. The room shifted. What had been a space of polite distance became a space of attention. People realized how easy it had been to ignore someone, and how powerful it was to choose not to. The female officer stood there, uniform crisp, heart unraveling. She had faced danger without flinching, but this broke her open in the best way. She saw her daughter standing taller, hands alive with expression, face glowing with a joy that had nothing to do with noise or approval. She saw a man who understood that strength was not always loud, that bravery sometimes looked like kneeling down and learning someone else's language. By the time the evening ended, the story of what happened had already begun to spread. Not as gossip, but as inspiration. People approached the girl differently now, with patience, with eye contact, with smiles meant for her, not just her mother. The single dad didn't stay for praise. He left quietly, the way he had come, carrying with him the familiar ache of loss, but also something new and lighter. He had not fixed the world. He had simply shifted one moment, and that was enough. Weeks later, the impact still lingered. The mother enrolled her daughter in a community program where inclusion wasn't an afterthought. A few guests from that night started learning sign language themselves, embarrassed by how little effort it had taken to make a difference. And the girl remembered the man who had spoken to her in the language of her hands, who had seen her when others looked past. If this story has reached something tender inside you, if it reminded you that kindness can be quiet and still powerful, please take a moment near the end of this video to like it, share it, and subscribe to Grandma Dearie. Your engagement helps spread stories that remind us who we can be. And before we close, I have a special request for you. Please comment below with a single word that describes how this story made you feel, or share a moment when someone's small kindness changed your life. Because somewhere, right now, there is a child standing silently in a crowded room, waiting for someone to notice. And maybe, just maybe, your attention, your kindness, or even your willingness to care will be the moment that changes everything.